The emergency alarm echoed through the corridors of Kepler Station's dormitory sector, its shrill tone sending waves of panic through the multi-species residential complex. Security Chief Barris rushed through the hallways, his forearms coordinating seamlessly as he checked his scanner readings and barked orders into his comm unit. "All units, we have a code-red containment breach in Sector 7, Barris announced, his chitinous exoskeleton clicking with each hurried step. 3 Vorthak cubs have escaped from the research laboratory. Repeat, 3 juvenile Vorthak predators are loose in the civilian quarters." Behind him, a squad of heavily armed security officers followed, their energy weapons humming with lethal charge. The Vorthak were among the most feared predators in the known galaxy, apex hunters, whose adult forms could tear through reinforced steel with their claws and whose pack-hunting instincts made them nearly unstoppable once they caught a scent. "Sir," called Officer Zenth, his reptilian features tense with worry. "The cubs may only be juveniles, but they're still capable of killing any resident they encounter. Their bite force alone—" "I know the statistics," Barris cut him off grimly. "Just pray we find them before they find someone." The security team moved methodically through the dormitory levels, scanning each room with thermal imaging equipment. The cubs had been missing for over an hour now, enough time for them to have traveled far from the laboratory levels. Barris felt his primary heart racing as he considered the potential casualties among the station's diverse population of researchers, diplomats, and students. They had checked nearly 30 rooms when they reached the human residential section. Barris paused, consulting his roster. "The human exchange student," he muttered, reading from his datapad. "Melissa Chen, xenobiology major from Terra, room 847. Should we skip the human quarters?" suggested Officer Zenth. If the cubs encountered a human, there wouldn't be much left to find. Barris considered this. Humans were notoriously fragile compared to most galactic species. Soft skin, no natural armor, pathetically weak bite force, and reflexes that seemed almost sluggish. If the Vorthak cubs had indeed found the human, it would likely be a recovery mission rather than a rescue. Still, protocol demanded they check every room. The security team approached room 847 with weapons drawn, their scanners detecting multiple heat signatures within. Barris felt his secondary heart sink. The thermal readings showed what appeared to be the 3 missing cubs, their distinctive body heat signatures clustered together in the center of the room. "Breach protocol," Barris whispered into his comm. "On my mark. Stun setting only. We can't risk hitting any remains." He activated the door override and the entrance slid open silently. The security team poured into the room, weapons raised, expecting to find a massacre. Instead, they found something that would be discussed in xenobiology textbooks for decades to come. There, on the small bed designed for human proportions, lay Melissa, very much alive and fast asleep. Curled up around her like enormous purring housecats were the 3 escaped Vorthak cubs. Each cub was nearly the size of a Terran wolf, their sleek black fur rising and falling with peaceful breaths. Their razor-sharp claws, capable of shredding metal, were carefully retracted. Their powerful jaws, which could snap bones like twigs, were relaxed and slightly open, revealing rows of gleaming teeth. One of the cubs had its massive head resting on Melissa's chest, another was curled against her side, and the third was sprawled across her legs. All 3 were producing a low, rumbling sound that Barris had never heard from Vorthak before, something almost like the purring of a Terran feline, but deeper and more resonant. Melissa stirred slightly, her hand unconsciously moving to scratch behind the ears of the cub on her chest. The massive predator leaned into her touch, its purring growing louder. "Stand down," Barris whispered hoarsely to his team, hardly believing what he was witnessing. "Nobody move. Nobody make a sound." Officer Zenth stared in shock. "Sir, how is this possible? Vorthak are apex predators. They should have torn her apart the moment they caught her scent." Barris lowered his weapon, studying the impossible scene before him. In all his years of security work across dozens of species and worlds, he had never seen anything like this. The cubs looked more relaxed and content than the adult Vorthak in the research facility's high-security enclosures. "Get me Dr. Kelleth from the xenobiology department," Barris ordered quietly. "And someone contact the human cultural attaché. I think we're going to need some explanations." As they waited, Melissa began to wake up. She opened her eyes slowly, blinking in the sudden light from the doorway. When she saw the armed security team, she looked confused but not alarmed. "Oh, hi," she said softly, careful not to disturb the cubs. "Is everything okay? You guys look really worried." "Ms. Chen," Barris managed, his voice cracking slightly, "do you realize you have 3 of the galaxy's most dangerous predators sleeping on your bed?" Melissa looked down at the cubs and smiled, gently stroking the fur of the one on her chest. "Oh, you mean Fluffy, Mittens, and Sir Bites-a-Lot? Yeah, they showed up a few hours ago looking scared and hungry. Poor babies must have gotten lost." "You named them?" Officer Zenth whispered in disbelief. "Well, I couldn't just call them Hey You," Melissa replied reasonably. "They were so frightened when they first arrived, shaking and whimpering. I gave them some of my protein bars and they calmed right down. Then they just wanted to cuddle, I guess." Dr. Kelleth arrived within minutes, accompanied by a small army of xenobiologists and researchers. They stood at the room's threshold, documenting everything with recording equipment and taking extensive scans. "Remarkable," Dr. Kelleth breathed. "The cubs show no signs of stress or aggression. Their brain scans indicate they're in a state of complete relaxation, something we've never achieved in our research facility." "But how?" Barris demanded. "Vorthak are solitary ambush predators. They don't form social bonds except with their own species, and even then only briefly for mating." "That's what our research suggested," Dr. Kelleth admitted, "but we may have been missing something crucial. Humans have an unusual ability to form interspecies bonds. On Earth, they've domesticated dozens of predator species. Perhaps there's something about human pheromones, body language, or social cues that transcends normal predator-prey relationships." Melissa yawned and sat up carefully, making sure not to disturb her sleeping companions. "I don't know about all that scientific stuff. They just seemed like they needed someone to care about them. Back home, I have 3 cats and 2 dogs. These guys aren't really that different, just bigger and with more teeth." "More teeth?" Barris repeated faintly. "Yeah, but look how careful they are with them," Melissa said, demonstrating by gently placing her finger near the mouth of the cub she'd named Fluffy. The massive predator, even in sleep, instinctively adjusted its jaw to avoid her skin. They're just babies. They need comfort and security, same as any creature. Over the following days, the incident became legendary throughout the station. The cubs refused to return to the research facility, becoming agitated and distressed whenever separated from Melissa. Eventually, the administration had no choice but to officially assign them as her research subjects, making her the galaxy's first human xenobiologist to successfully domesticate Vorthak. Barris often found himself walking past room 847 during his patrol rounds, still marveling at the sight through the observation window. Melissa would be at her desk, studying or working on assignments, while 3 of the galaxy's most feared predators lounged around her room like oversized housecats. Sometimes they played with improvised toys, sometimes they groomed each other, and sometimes they simply slept in a pile near her feet. The human, it seemed, had accomplished something that the galaxy's finest xenobiologist had thought impossible, not through superior technology or advanced understanding, but through something far simpler and yet infinitely more complex: the uniquely human capacity to see past fear and offer unconditional compassion to creatures that logic said should be her natural enemies. As Barris filed his final report on the incident, he couldn't help but smile at his conclusion. Note for future reference: when searching for dangerous predators, check the human quarters last. You might find they're no longer dangerous,